What is up? Ben Simmons is psyched right now. Ben Simmons is so happy because we actually have news, and we haven't had news in a long time, and so everyone's talking about Ben Simmons. But this news is about John Wall, and Shams reports that John Wall and the Rockets have agreed to find a new home for him, and he's not going to play another game for the Rockets. I think this is because he wants to play for a contender getting late on in his career. And also, they want to develop the backcourt, right? So they've obviously got Jalen Green, they've got Kevin Porter Jr., they've got some young guys that they want to get as many minutes as possible. And it would just be really awkward to have a multi all-star making $44 million in John Wall and just have him sitting on your bench while your young players get big minutes. It would be like if, the Pistons had, I don't know, Russell Westbrook or something, and they've got, Killian Hayes and they've got Cade Cunningham in the backcourt, but Russ would have to get minutes. Otherwise, it would be really awkward. Like, you can't have him coming off the bench. So basically, both the Rockets and John Wall have said, okay, you know what? This is good for both of us. We want to play the young guys. You want to go elsewhere. So we're going to make a trade happen. And so I have identified two teams that I think he could realistically go to. And here is what I looked at. So I looked at all 29 other NBA teams, and I figured, okay, he needs to go to a contender because that's the reason why he wants to leave. He wants to go somewhere so that he can compete. And so, that knocks out most of, the NBA teams, except for probably 8 or 9 teams. And then you have to look at, okay, who needs a point guard? Okay, that knocks out a few more. And then you have to look at, okay, who's got the money either to bring him into cap space or to trade away a big contract to bring in John Wall's $44 million contract. So that's the thing, man. Rockets are like, yeah, we're going to find you a new home. And it's like, all right, well, get ready for, some really tough phone conversations and a lot of different phone conversations because he is the third highest paid player in the league. He got the Supermax from the Washington Wizards, and he is one of the examples of like where a Supermax goes wrong. As soon as he signed on the dotted line for the biggest contract in NBA history, he got injured really bad, right? And missed basically 2 full years. But before that, he was like Supermax worthy, so that guy still exists in there somewhere. But they have to find a home for him. The highest paid player is Steph Curry. The second highest paid player is James Harden. And the third highest paid player is John Wall. So it's like, okay, this is going to be a tough fit, right? So next, to find the teams that John Wall could go to, you have to find who's got a big contract that's crappy who can send that to the Rockets, right? And honestly, out of the contenders, I've only got 2 teams that I could come up with. And those 2 teams are the Celtics and the Clippers. That's it. Those are the 2 teams that I think need a point guard and could send a big giant contract the other way. That's it. And I'll tell you who those contracts are and how to get it done. But let's go look at the other contenders, okay? Just real quick. And tell me if you think someone else, okay? I'm looking at the chat right here. Somebody says Philly. I get what you mean. Like, why not send Ben Simmons, right? Well, I think the reason is because for 2 reasons. Number one, Daryl Morey and the Sixers think that they can get a better player than John Wall, who's got injury issues. And number 2, John Wall doesn't really shoot threes very well. And that's obviously a problem with Ben Simmons, right? He doesn't shoot threes. And so you need a point guard who can space the floor more than that. I just think that the Ben Simmons, the Philly John Wall fit is awkward. It doesn't work. I don't think that the Sixers would take that very seriously. I think the Sixers are hoping for Dame Lillard, Bradley Beal, and if they have to take D'Angelo Russell, they'll take D'Lo, right? Well, I don't think that's it, okay? So, Philly, no. Nets, no, obviously. Bucks, no. They're happy with what they have, having just won, right? And then you've got the Heat. They're a contender, but they've already got Kyle Lowry. You've got, I don't know, the Hawks, not enough of a contender. That's it in the East, okay? Now let's go to the West. Utah Jazz. They have no big contracts to send. They're rolling with Donovan Mitchell and Gobert. Suns, nope. They're all set. Nuggets, nope. They're all set. Jamal Murray. Mavericks, I mean, unless Kristaps wants to, no, that's dumb. Blazers are all set in the backcourt. Lakers are already all set. Warriors, John Wall. No, dude, that's just not gonna work, right? I mean, come on. Somebody said Pelicans, but it's like they're not a contender, dude. So I don't think that John Wall would want to go there. So that's it, guys. Honestly, Celtics and Clippers. I'm going to tell you how he gets to both of those teams and why I chose those two teams. But I'm looking right now at the chat. What do y'all have? Anything? Anything other than Celtics and Clippers for a contender? Anyone? No, nothing, right? That's it. Lakers. Come on, Mark. Samuel, Lakers? What are you talking about? The Lakers are set, dude. They just got Russell Westbrook. Maybe if the Lakers would have waited a few months, or maybe the Lakers called Houston, was like, hey, man, what about John Wall? Maybe they already kicked the tires on this and it didn't work. So for the Clippers, here's how it works. First of all, yes, they need a point guard. Yes, they need more star power to fill in until Kawhi gets back, hopefully in the playoffs. So here's how they get it done. I've actually cooked this trade up, but it's all based on Eric Bledsoe, okay? It's based on Bledsoe's contract. By the way, he doesn't make that much. He only makes 18 million. So, all right. So 18 million is a good chunk, but you need more players. So you throw in Justice Winslow, Luke Kennard, and some rando named Jason Preston, who you needed another like million. So I threw him in. So really, this is about Eric Bledsoe's contract and then Luke Kennard, really. And, Luke Kennard's a really good young shooter. And I guarantee you that the Clippers regret that giant, what was it, like a 4 years, $65 million contract or whatever that they gave him. Luke Kennard was disappointing in the playoffs last year. So it's like, yo, are they going to miss Luke Kennard? No. But would the Rockets welcome Luke Kennard? Yeah. Like, he's still young enough. Kennard is someone who they can hope will not only be a leader on that team because he'll be one of the older players on the Rockets, but maybe he can regain his shooting form. So I'm looking for Luke Kennard. Obviously, Eric Bledsoe goes, and John Wall to the Clippers. Boom. He would love to go to LA, obviously. He's on a contender. They need someone in the backcourt like that. Let's go. John Wall to the Clippers. All right. Next up. Let's go to the Boston Celtics. Here's how I Celtics, okay? They need a big trade. We were told something big was going to happen. Maybe Brad Stevens was going to make a big headline or whatever, blockbuster trade in the offseason. That didn't happen. They got Dennis Schroeder. We all know he's got a ceiling, especially in the postseason. So John Wall, the contract this is based on is Al Horford. Okay, so they've got Al Horford's big contract. My man Gilbert and AM Hoops Plus actually tipped me off to this idea. It totally works. By the way, you would have to throw in, a lot more young players like Romeo Langford, Jabari Parker, and then there was one more scrub, right? So Jabari Parker, Romeo Langford, some scrub, and Al Horford. That goes to Houston, and John Wall goes to the Celtics. So John Wall in the backcourt with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in the front court. I like that chemistry. I like that balance. No, John Wall cannot shoot a lot of threes, but they're not exactly like, hurting for threes necessarily because, Jaylen and Jason can hit them. So can Marcus Smart, whatever. And so, that's okay. It's not horrible with John Wall. And it just adds more to the Celtics, which they need, obviously. Right now, the Celtics are on the outside looking in the East. Think about the top 4 seeds in the East. Philly, Nets, Bucks, Heat. We know that. And so the Celtics are like battling with the Knicks and the Hawks for that 5, 6, 7 seed. So I think that works. People are talking about Pacers. Guys, no. And what about Schroeder? That's a great question, Larry. Somebody also asked me that. Why would the Celtics not send Dennis Schroeder to Houston? Because he makes $5 million. I think it's the same thing with John Wall. The Rockets want to get John Wall out of there so that they can develop their young guys. You don't want some veteran who's in a like Dennis Schroeder needing to play, right? He needs to get minutes. He needs to have the ball in his hands. He needs to be in that backcourt. He probably needs to start. you don't want that. That's why you're sending out John Wall. So it would make no sense. Houston would be like, no, we don't want Dennis Schroeder. No, thank you. We're trying to develop our young backcourt. We want Al Horford, right? Like Al Horford was so good because in OKC, he didn't make a lot of noise. Like all Al Horford did was put his head down, do his job, collect his checks. It's great, right? So Al Horford has already proven, like he did on the Thunder last year, he's a good pro when it comes to playing on a rebuilding team. So honestly, I think the Celtics are probably my number one team for John Wall. The Clippers are my number two team, and I really don't see anyone else. I really don't. All right, guys. So those are really my thoughts. Okay, I wanted to jump on a live because I really don't think there's enough time to make a video by 5. Those are basically my thoughts. So I can really get them out here. This is a good example of when a live video works well. So all right, let's look at some questions. What do you guys got? Yes, Grant Williams, missing one. That's right, Simon. Grant Williams was the one, the scrub. I feel bad, but yeah. All right, Knicks, they say. Okay, so who's the big contract that the Knicks are going to send? That's my question. And who would the Rockets get back? So the Knicks wouldn't want to send anyone too valuable and young to the Rockets. Mitchell Robinson, definitely not RJ Barrett. He's too valuable. You're not going to send Julius Randle. Maybe Evan Fournier, but Evan Fournier is a veteran. I just don't feel like the Knicks work. You know what I'm saying? Easy trade for Ben. No, I already went over why I thought Ben was stupid. Yes, Samuel. Samuel is asking, is it official that he gets traded? Yes. John Wall will not ever put on a Rockets uniform again, and they're going to find a new home for him. That's what Shams has said, and he's as reliable as it gets. So, yes, it's official. All right. Let's see. I will do Al Horford. Yeah, that's a great point. Kyle basically brings up the possibility of maybe a 3-team trade or a 4-team trade. And that's true. I mean, we could get really creative with it and try to get John Wall on the Knicks, even though they have Kemba, they have Derrick Rose. I don't know. Or get John Wall on. I'm trying to think what other contender needs a point guard? The Sixers. Yeah, so you could do a 3-team trade, putting Ben on, now I'm trying to cook it up here off the fly. Yeah, look, a 3-team trade could get John Wall onto the Sixers and put Ben not on the Rockets, but somewhere else. I guess you could do that. But that's the thing, is that I don't love the fit for John Wall on the Sixers because he doesn't really shoot threes, and they need someone who can stretch the floor as well as distribute. I don't know. I don't really love this fit. All right. I just don't feel like the Pelicans are a contender. I know that some people have talked about Zion for 6th man of the year. So maybe if he takes that, 6th man, my bad. Most improved player of the year. So maybe if Zion takes that leap, the Pelicans can rise up the standings, but they still wouldn't be a contender, would they? I mean, if John Wall wants to play deep in the postseason, then I feel like the Pelicans' next step is get to the postseason. And then the step after that is not even contend. It would be top 4 seeds. So no, I just feel like the Pelicans are too far away. Mark with a super chat. Thank you, Mark. Someone really said they'd take 5'8" IT over what? No, they didn't. And asked to be proven wrong. Love the content and breakdown, by the way. Mark, who said that? No one said that. I think your dog is smarter than that. No offense to your dog. But no, dude, that's crazy. All right. CJ says, although the Jazz can't have him, maybe they can. We have to admit that John Wall and Donovan Mitchell would be a hell of a show. Yeah, that would be fun for sure. What about Jazz for a backup guard? What does that mean? Like for John Wall to be a backup, or I don't know, man. How about the Bucks? For who? I think that the Bucks are happy with their situation. Drew Holiday's a beast. Raptors are not a contender. He wouldn't want to go to the Raptors. All right. What about the Nets? No, thank you. The Nets are set. All right, guys, that's it. That was the breaking news. Pretty cool to have breaking news in a random week in the offseason. I love it. I also love all of our AM Hoops Plus members. And that's it, guys. Dropping a video at 5 p.m. As usual, you know it. Moving boxes are because I'm moving to Houston. And you guys voted that I go to a Hornets game. Come on. I was kind of hoping for Lakers. We'll see. All right, guys. You are the best. Later. Have a good one. See you at 5 p.m.